This video is going to go over the We Are Red acronym that will hopefully help us all have more secure Zoom calls. So I'm going to go over the logistics really quickly. There are 3 different settings within Zoom that you're going to need to pay attention to. There are the account settings that are the overall settings, and so you'll set these and then this will automatically be set for each of your Zoom calls. When you log into your profile, it is on the left side and you just click settings. Now this section, you're going to see it's really lengthy and you don't want to have to read through this every single time. My best suggestion around this is to use the find feature. So that's control find on a PC or command find on a Mac or command F on a Mac. And then you're going to type the word you're searching. Let's say I want to check out what my mute settings are. I type in the word mute. This lets me know that there are 3 iterations of the word mute on this page and also takes me automatically there. So I have that quick navigation. Specific settings. So if you need to adjust a meeting to allow different abilities for participants, then you can go ahead and do that within each meeting when you create it. And you can also revisit and edit as well. And then you can also edit certain settings during the meeting. So this was the We Are Red acronym. I'm going to go through each of them. The first setting you want to make sure you have set up is that waiting room. So you approve people coming into the Zoom call, and then you can also add a welcome message. This will all be done in the account settings that will then automatically set for every Zoom call you set up. So for waiting room, you want to make sure that the button next to it is blue. Blue means that it's turned on. And then to go ahead and add an additional message, you can go ahead and click Customize Waiting Room right down there. And then a window will pop up where you can go ahead and set that message. For orientation in the first 2 days of school, I had it say, please use your first and last name as it appears on school records, as I didn't know students' nicknames at that point. So now that it's past those 2 first days of school, I went ahead and adjusted mine to please use your first and last name. Next up, you want to make sure that they do enter with their first and last name. It's a must, and so going through the approval with the waiting room is one way to help regulate that. But another setting you want to add is making sure that students cannot rename themselves. There have definitely been instances where students have changed their names to inappropriate things, so you want to prevent that from happening. So this is again in the account settings. You can search this term, this phrase, and then it will pop up. Make sure that this little button is gray. That means that it's turned off so that students cannot change their names during the meeting. Next up, just like a tip and trick, I would suggest as you're approving from the waiting room, that's when you're taking attendance. You can have the attendance roster out, whether it's a printed version or a split screen on your device. And you can just check them off, and that's how you know to approve and who not to approve. And then your attendance is also taken. But you have to add it to Synergy. Another thing we want to make sure to do is to have it already set to have everybody muted. And now this does detract from participation and students being able to ask questions, and that's when you want to use the raise hand tool within the emojis that Zoom provides. So these are account settings. And you want to make sure that the meeting reaction, so that's the term that you would want to search, or you could search emoji to quickly navigate there. You want to make sure that that's turned on and that it's blue. That way students can use that tool. You really want to encourage them to use it. So during the call, these are the things that they will see. Raise hand, yes, no, go slower, go faster. And so you want to familiarize yourself with those icons so then if the students do use them, you know what they're trying to communicate to you. You also want to make sure that you are actively monitoring the participant list as you are teaching, which is a lot of multitasking, but that's how you're going to know if people are raising their hand, if they're agreeing or disagreeing, so you have to pay attention to the participant list. Next up, like I said, we want to have mute enabled at all times, so you can have this set up in your account settings. Mute participants upon entry, that way they enter the phone call automatically muted. And you want to make sure that's blue so it's turned on. And also if there are any points within the meeting that you do want students to be able to chat openly and not have to have you control the mute and unmute, you can adjust all of these settings within using the security icon on the toolbar. So anything that's checked means they can do, and then you just click it to uncheck it if you don't want them to do it. Also, if a student is acting inappropriately or there is a Zoom bomber not a bobber, not even related to our school, you can go ahead and during the meeting remove that student. So on the participant list, you'll see more, you'll click more, and then what you can go ahead and do is remove. You can also, if they need a break, put them in the waiting room and then let them re-enter. So those are some of the different options of what you can do. And then of course, you'll have to refer through Synergy. Next up is, I already mentioned this, but the edit settings with security on the toolbar. So this is during the meeting. You can go ahead and just adjust settings as needed. As I mentioned earlier when I talked about how students need to enter with their first and last name, you don't want to allow them to change their name immediately after you approve them. So in your account settings, you can go ahead and make sure that that setting is turned off, that participants cannot rename themselves. So just make sure that that is gray. Last but not least, just some other settings that you want to make sure to have set for a secure meeting. Private chat, you can turn that off so that way participants can only message everybody as opposed to messaging individually and having side conversations. So make sure that's gray and turned off. You can also, with the security tool, you can go ahead and allow them to chat or not chat. So you can adjust that as needed as well, depending on what is happening during class at the time. And then the last thing you can do, you want to make sure that your screen share is set to on, but at the same time, you probably don't want students to be able to screen share at this point of the school year. So you can disable desktop and screen share for anyone except for you. So just make sure that that setting is also turned on. Hope this was helpful, and please let me know if you have any questions or suggestions, other ideas, clarifications, whatever it might be.